Long, long ago, when folks were not so wise as they are nowadays, there was a great kingdom called Sankonsa. In the year 1821, Sankonsa was a happy land. People laughed, children played, and songs floated in the air like birds. The most wonderful thing about Sankonsa was that humans and mermaids lived as friends. The mermaids could walk freely on land. The humans could sit by the river without fear. The mighty Agbaru River was more than water. It was a living oath. It had sworn never to swallow an indigene of Sankonsa. It had sworn to protect, not destroy. And beneath its calm surface lay a secret no child was told. One dark season, enemies surrounded Sankonsa. They wanted to steal the land. They wanted to destroy the kingdom. Their army was very large, too large. King Armani, the good and worried king of Sankonsa, looked at his people and felt fear in his heart. If war comes, he whispered, none of my people may survive. So one quiet night, King Armani went to the Agbaru River. He knelt by the water and called softly, Queen of the Mermaids, please hear me. The river shimmered. The water glowed, and the Queen of the Mermaids rose from the river, shining like moonlight. King Armani bowed low. Great Queen, he said, our enemies are many. Please fight beside us. Save my people. The Queen listened carefully. Then she said,
We will help you, but only if you
promise something. The king lifted his head.
You must allow my people,
she said gently,
to live on land
like humans,
to belong.
Without thinking, King Armani said, I promise. And so the war came. The mermaids stood in front. They fought bravely. They protected every child, every woman, every man of Sankonsa. Not one human life was lost, but the victory came with sadness. Some mermaids were badly hurt. Some closed their eyes and never opened them again. At last, the enemies were defeated. The villagers rejoiced. Drums were beaten. Songs filled the air. Sankonsa was saved. Now it was time for the king to keep his promise. But King Armani grew quiet. Day after day, he thought and thought. Then one morning, he said softly, I must see Akidi. After visiting Akidi, the king returned, changed. He sent a message to the mermaids. On the fourth night, gather at the biggest river in the village. We will celebrate together. We will welcome you officially. The night arrived. Small mermaids and big mermaids swam happily to the great river. They laughed, they danced, there were drinks, there were sweets, there were biscuits, enough for everyone. Joy filled the air. Then suddenly, King Armani stepped forward. He raised his hand, he cut his arm, and his royal blood touched the river. The river shook, the water grew cold, and in a blink, all the mermaids froze inside the river. They could not move, they could not speak. The river fell silent. Each frozen mermaid carried a truth in her chest. The memory of the war, the sound of a broken promise, and the power to either bless Sankonsa forever, or drown it when the seal breaks. Only one truth remained. Only royal blood can unfreeze them. And the night that was meant to be a celebration became the beginning of a terrible secret. Many years passed. Seasons changed. Old stories grew quiet. The people of Sankonsa lived their lives as if nothing strange had ever happened. The frozen mermaids became a secret, buried deep in time. Children were born, elders passed on, and the river was spoken of only in whispers. King Armani was gone. His grandson's son now wore the crown. His name was King Lucas. King Lucas ruled with a calm heart. By his side was his kind wife, Queen Margaret. For many years, the palace was silent. There was no child's laughter in its halls, and the king and queen often prayed with heavy hearts. Then, one joyful day, their prayers were answered. A baby boy was born. They named him Aaron. Aaron grew into a bright, curious child. By the age of 10, he was full of questions and wonder. The palace walls could not hold him. His feet loved to wander, and his eyes always searched for something new. "Aaron," his mother scolded again and again, "you must not go far from the palace." But Aaron's little feet did not listen. Adventure always called him. One sunny afternoon, Aaron climbed a hill with his best friend, Julius. The wind brushed their faces as they walked. Suddenly, Julius stopped. "Aaron," he said in a low voice, "I heard something strange." Aaron's eyes widened. "What is it?" "I overheard my grandfather talking to my father," Julius said. "He spoke about a frozen river in Sankonsa." Aaron gasped.
"A frozen river?
"A frozen river!"
I can't wait to
he shouted.
see it. My
"I can't wait to see
grandfather called
it."
The Forgotten River.
Julius nodded excitedly. "My grandfather called it the Forgotten River." Aaron frowned. "Forgotten?
Why was
the river forgotten?" he asked curiously. Julius shook his head.
But he said
"I don't know.
It's behind my father's
But he said it is
farmland.
behind my
Covered with
father's
bushes.
farmland,
No one goes
covered
there
with
anymore.
bushes. No one goes there anymore." Aaron's heart beat fast. "This," he said, jumping into tear and throwing his hands up, "calls for an adventure." And far away, hidden beneath leaves and silence, the river waited. For many days the search continued. Every morning, Aaron slipped away from the palace and met Julius near the farmlands. The sun would rise, the birds would sing, and the two boys would push through bushes taller than their heads. They searched behind farms. They searched behind old trees. They searched where no one ever went. But the forgotten river did not show itself. After many days, Julius grew tired. His legs ached. His hands were scratched. One afternoon, he sat heavily on a stone and sighed.
Aaron, maybe the river is only
he said
a story.
sadly.
Maybe my
Maybe the
grandfather
river is
was
only
wrong.
a story. Maybe my grandfather was wrong. Aaron wiped sweat from his face and
No,
shook his head.
stories don't live this long for
No,
nothing. We
he said
must
firmly.
persevere.
Stories don't live this long for nothing. We must persevere. Julius looked at him. Aaron's eyes were shining, so they stood up again and kept going. That afternoon, as the sun leaned low in the sky, Aaron suddenly stopped. "Julius," he whispered, "look at those grasses." Two tall grasses stood strangely apart, shaking softly, even though there was no wind. Aaron stepped forward. With both hands, he shoved the grasses aside. Behind them stood an old, twisted tree. Its roots were thick and tangled, and its branches shook wildly. "Aaron,
Be careful.
be careful," Julius warned. But before Aaron could pull back, a sharp thorn from the tree poked his hand. "Ouch!" Blood began to drip from his finger. Aaron looked down, but then his pain disappeared. His eyes widened. Before him lay something impossible. It lay silent and wide, shining like a long mirror made of ice. The water did not move. No fish swam. No ripples danced. It was as if time itself had stopped there. Aaron gasped. "Julius!" he cried with joy.
It's real.
"Look, it's real! Your grandfather was right after all." Julius stepped closer, his mouth open in wonder. He had never seen anything like it before. The river was pale blue, cold and smooth. Beneath the frozen surface, shapes could be seen. Tall, graceful figures, standing still. "Are those?" Julius whispered. "Yes," Aaron breathed. "Mermaids." They stood frozen in place, their eyes closed, their hair floating softly in the ice. Some looked peaceful, some looked sad. Some looked angry. It was as though they were sleeping, but trapped inside a dream they could not wake from. The boys slowly walked toward the sandy part of the riverbank. Their footsteps were quiet, as if the river could hear them. Aaron shook his hand, trying to stop the bleeding. Without noticing, A drop of his blood slid from his finger and landed on a wide green leaf beside the river. The leaf trembled slightly, but the boys did not see it. Dark clouds began to gather in the sky. The wind blew harder. Julius looked up nervously. "Aaron," he said, "we should hurry. The rain is coming." Aaron nodded. "Yes, we'll come back another day." With one last look at the frozen river, the two boys turned and ran home, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. That night, the rain came. It did not fall gently. It poured. Rain rushed through the farmlands, across the bushes, and down toward the forgotten place. The wide leaf by the river shook as water washed over it. Slowly, quietly, Aaron's blood slid from the leaf and dropped into the frozen river. The river shuddered. A faint glow spread beneath the ice. The frozen surface began to melt. For the first time in many, many years, the river breathed. Deep beneath the water, eyes snapped open. The queen of the mermaids awoke. Her scream tore through the river like thunder. It was not a scream of joy, it was a scream of anger. A broken promise, her voice echoed. All descendants of Armani must pay with their blood. The river roared. Its banks swelled and burst. Water rushed into the lands of Sankonsa. Farms were flooded. Crops were destroyed. The earth was torn open by erosion. By morning, the villagers woke to chaos. The river had remembered, and Sankonsa would soon remember too. That night, Sankonsa didn't sleep. Before the sun rose, cries filled the air. Farmers ran from their homes. Women held their children tightly. Men stood at the riverbank in fear, watching the water move in strange ways. The Agbaru River had grown wider. The land was wet. The farms were broken. No one understood what was happening. "This is not ordinary rain," the elders whispered. "The river is angry." King Lucas was awakened by the sound of panic outside the palace.
What do we do now?
He stepped out and saw fear written on every face. Summon the elders, he commanded, and send for the chief priest from the neighboring village, at once. By midday, the chief priest arrived. He was an old man with white hair and deep eyes that looked like they had seen many secrets. He carried cowries, sacred leaves, and a staff carved with symbols. The people gathered in silence as he sat by the river. He cast the cowries. He burned herbs. He closed his eyes and spoke to the unseen. For a long time, he said nothing. Then his voice trembled.
The river remembers.
The river remembers, he said
The water
slowly.
has not forgotten.
The water has not forgotten.
The goddess
people leaned
of
closer.
Agbaru was betrayed.
The goddess of Agbaru was betrayed, the priest continued. Long ago, King Armani broke a sacred promise. He trapped the mermaids with royal blood and sealed them in silence. A gasp swept through the crowd. "This anger," the priest said, pointing to the river, "is not for today alone. It is the anger of many years." King Lucas fell to his knees. My grandfather," he whispered. "We did not know."
We did not
Aaron
know.
stepped forward. His small hands shook, but his voice was brave. Please, he said,
Tell us
tears in his eyes.
what to do.
Tell us what to do. The priest looked at the boy for a long moment. Bring offerings, he said.
Bring goats.
Bring goats.
Food.
Bring
from the
food.
land.
Bring
Come
fruits of
with
the
clean
land.
hearts.
And come with clean hearts. That evening, the villagers gathered by the river. They brought goats. They brought yams, fruits, and grains. They laid everything by the water. Aaron stood in front. The wind grew strong. The river bubbled. Suddenly, the water rose, and the goddess of Agbaru appeared. She was tall and glowing. Her hair flowed like water. Her eyes were deep and ancient. The ground shook. I have waited, she said, her voice echoing across the land. I have waited for truth. The villagers bowed low. But when the goddess saw Aaron, she paused. Her anger softened. This child carries no betrayal, she said. His heart is clean. Aaron knelt. We are sorry, he said simply. Please forgive us. Silence fell. Then the goddess spoke again.
I forgive Sankonsa.
I forgive Sankonsa.
But forgiveness must walk with
But
justice.
forgiveness must walk with justice. The river became still. This is my verdict, she declared. No one from Armani's bloodline shall ever sit on the throne of Sankonsa again. The people murmured in shock. The crown is no longer theirs, the goddess continued.
For power must
For power
not grow
must
from
not
broken
grow
promises.
From broken promises. She raised her hand. From this day onward, boundaries shall be kept.
You may swim,
in the river.
You may fish from it. You may travel by it.
You may
But
travel
never
by it.
forget. This
But never
river
forget,
is sacred.
this river is sacred. Her voice grew firm. If any of Armani's bloodline swims in this river for pleasure, the river shall claim them. If any of Armani's bloodline travels by this river, their boat shall capsize, and their bodies shall be taken by Agbaru. This is my final word. The river thundered once, then calmed. Slowly the goddess turned. The mermaids return beneath the waters, she said. They shall never again live among humans. One by one, the glowing figures disappeared into the deep. The river settled. The land grew quiet. From that day on, Sankonsa changed. A council ruled instead of kings. The river was respected, never mocked. Children were taught the story of the Forgotten River, and elders always ended the tale with these words. Promises do not die. Rivers do not forget.
And history
always finds its way back.